do a recap of some level 1 graphing and some level 2 writing equations. We're not going to do evaluating, but so you'll have to go back and watch that video if you want to review that. So here's our equation. There's our graph. Remember, for graphing, you first take this boundary point. So -3, and I plug it in, and I get 4. And that is an open circle. The next point, since there's only one number, you get to choose. It needs to be less than -3. So I'm choosing -4. I plug it in, and I get 4. And that's where my arrow goes. So -1, 2, 3, and 4. That is your open circle. And then we have -4, and there's my arrow. So now we have -3. I plug in. I get -6 minus 4 is -10. And that is a closed circle. And my arrow, I go towards this point. It has to be bigger than -3. And sometimes I like choosing 0. So that would be -4. 2 times 0 is 0, minus 4 is -4. So -3, -10 is way down here, and that's a closed circle. And then 0, -4 is up here. So there's my arrow. So that is graphing a piecewise function. This is a level 1 with evaluating. Whoops. Let's jump to a 3-term one. So this one is going to be very similar, except for the middle term. So this one, I choose -2, and it's open circle. So -2 times -2 is 4. 4 minus 3 is 1. And then I have to choose something that's less than -2. So I'm going to choose -3. That's where my arrow goes. So -3 times -2 is 6. 6 minus 3 is 3. So -2, 1 is here. And then -3, 3, 1, 2, 3 is where my arrow goes. One thing, make sure that your arrow doesn't always go to the right. It just goes towards that point. So that's why it's going up and to the left, because it goes towards -3, 3. Okay? Sometimes people get confused of that. Okay, so now here, -2, I plug in, I get out 4. At -2, it's a closed circle. And then I have 2, because these are my 2 boundaries. So I have -2 and I have 2. I get out of 4, and that is an open circle. So -2, 4 is closed. 2, 4 is open. And there you go. So now 2 is a boundary point. Plug it in. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. That is a closed circle because of the equal sign underneath. And then I need to pick something that's bigger than 2. So if I want to pick something bigger than 2, you can pick any number. I'm going to choose 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 plus 4 is 10. And that is where my arrow goes. So 2, 8 is way up here. And then 3, 10 is up here, and that's where my arrow goes. So that is how you do a 3-term piecewise function. The only difference is this middle term. You don't choose a number. The 2 numbers are chosen for you, and those are your boundaries. So it goes from -2 to 2. Everything else, it's just less than -2, so it's every value less than -2. Okay, so that's part of level 1. Now let's write the equation. And I'm going to write one with 2 boundaries, just to make sure we've done an example like that. So, actually, if there's no arrow, you want to put a boundary mark at every single dot. Okay, so here we have, we first have to write equations. So this one, remember, it crosses the y-axis, which we do a little happy dance, because then we can do y equals mx plus b. So then we do up 1 over 1. So if we choose 2, up 1 over 1, 1 over 1 is 1. So our equation is x plus 1. Sorry. All right, now we have the second equation, but the second equation doesn't have a b. So we have an m. So your m is down 1 over 1. So that would be -1 over 1, which is -1, and a point. So 2, -2. So your equation would be y. I'm going to do it up here a little bit so I can solve. Oops. What am I doing? Y minus -2, -1, x minus 2. So I'm going to distribute y plus 2, -x plus 2, -1 times -2 is positive, minus 2. So y equals -x, and 2 minus 2 is 0. So those are my 2 equations. So f of x equals, and I have, the first equation is -x plus 1. Or, whoops, not -x. I was looking at the equal sign. X plus 1. I might need to make this a little smaller. And then the next one is -x. Okay, so now I have my 2 equations. Now I need my boundaries, my domains. So let's look at the first one. It goes from -4 to 1. So what I'm going to do is -4 and 1. And I should have moved this over, which I think I'm going to do so we don't get confused. Because otherwise it's a little confusing. So this is x plus 1 and -x. Just want to double check. Yep. Okay. So now I went from -4 to 1. So -4, then x, then 1. And this is just how we wrote our domains in last chapter. Okay. So we start with our smallest, then an x, then our biggest number. So -4 was a closed circle, and x values are bigger than -4. So the bigger end goes next to the x, but smaller than 1. And it is a closed circle over here, so it has to be equal to as well. Now the second equation, it's an open circle at 1. So that means x is greater than 1, but not equal to. And then it goes till 3, and it is closed. So it goes to 3 and it's closed. So that is my piecewise equation. So your domains are just like what we did last chapter. So you find where it starts and where it stops. If there's an arrow, that means there's only one number. But if there is a starting and stopping point, that means you have to have 2 numbers. Start with the smallest, then end with the biggest. X is in the middle. Equal sign, the equal underneath is when closed. If it's open, then there's no equal sign. And there you go. So that is level 2, graphing equations. If you have more questions, contact your teacher. This is a recap day, so this is all stuff we've done before. Next week is going to be review and test.